Okay guys, so this is multi-step inequalities. It's going to work just like the multi-step equations, except now instead of an equal sign, we're going to have an inequality. So, write down example 1 and let's go ahead and get to it. Just like before, I'm going to draw a line through this inequality. And just like before, our goal is to get this letter by itself. So I need to ask myself, do I want to move the 13 or do I want to move the 11? And in this problem, you want to move the 13 because the 11 and the D are attached. So to move things, you do the opposite. And the opposite of positive 13 is a negative 13. And if you do it on the left side, you do it on the right side. So these 13s cancel. I'm going to bring down negative 11D. I'm going to bring down my inequality. And then in your calculators, do 79 minus 13 and you get 66. Now, I need to move this negative 11, and the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So we're going to divide by negative 11. Now, hopefully you remember from the last video you watched that when you divide by a negative, which we're doing here, we're dividing by negative 11, you have to flip your inequality. And 66 divided by negative 11 is negative 6. Now, in the last video, I forgot to tell you about set builder notation. Set builder notation is just a way that they might write these answers on your EOC. So I want you to see it so that you know what it is when you see it on your EOC. So they do a bracket, whatever variable we're using. So we used a D, so we're going to do a D. And then it's a straight line. And then write the answer that you got. So we got D was less than or equal to negative 6. And then you just close your bracket. So that's called set builder notation. And we'll do some more, but that's just another way that they will write your answer. So here's example 2. Write this one down. I'm going to draw a line through my equal sign. To move my 19, I do the opposite of adding, which is subtracting. Subtract 19. So these cancel. So I'm going to bring down negative 7x. I'm going to bring down my inequality. Negative 16 minus 19 is negative 35. To move that 7, that negative 7, they're multiplying. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. So I'm going to divide by negative 7. I divided by a negative, so that means I flip my inequality. And negative 35 divided by negative 7 is 5. So again, let's do set builder notation. Do a bracket. The letter we're using this time is an X. So it's an X and a line. And then write your answer. So my answer is X is greater than 5. And then close your bracket. So that's set builder notation. Let's review graphing real quick. I know most of you probably have it, but for those that don't. So this answer was at 5. If you remember, if it has a line under it, then you would shade in your circle. But because this one didn't, I'm going to do an open circle. And then if I turn this into an arrow, it would go to the right. So I would shade to the right. Okay, example 3. I'm going to start by, well, let's just break this down and go a little bit slower. I want this T by itself. So you think I either need to move the 2 or the 7. Well, the 2 is attached, so I want to move the 7. It's a positive. The opposite of a positive is a negative. So I'm going to subtract 7 on both sides. So I'm going to bring down negative 2t. I'm going to bring down my inequality. And 21 minus 7 is 14. Now I need to move that negative 2. So we're going to divide by negative 2. And 14 divided by negative, well, first I divided by a negative, which means that inequality flips. And 14 divided by negative 2 is negative 7. So let's do one more set builder notation just so you get it. This one's a T, so I'm going to put a T and a line. Then you put your answer. My answer is T is less than negative 7. And then you close your bracket. And that's your answer. Okay, let's do example 4. First thing I look at is, can I combine anything? And I can, right here. I can combine negative 4 plus negative 8. That's negative 12. So I'm going to combine those. I cannot combine these because that's a C and that 2 does not have a C. So I'm just going to put negative 5C minus 2. All right, my goal is to get this letter by itself. So I got to figure out, do I want to move the 5 or do I want to move the 2? Well, the 5 is attached, so I want to move the 2 by doing the opposite, and the opposite of minus 2 is plus 2. So my 2's cancel. I'm going to bring down negative 5c. I'm going to bring down my inequality. Negative 12 plus 2 is negative 10. Okay, still not done because I want to get the c by itself. So I need to move that negative 5. So I'm going to divide by negative 5. Divide by negative 5. So over here I have c. Now let's think, should I flip my inequality? And hopefully you said yes, because we're dividing by negative 5. So that inequality flips. Negative 10 divided by negative 5 is 2. Now, there's something wrong with this answer. What's wrong with this answer? Hopefully you see it's that my letter is not first. Remember, with inequalities, your letter comes first, your number comes last. And when you flip your letter and your inequality, or your letter and your number, you got to flip your inequality. So this answer is C is less than 2. All right, example 5, write this one down. It looks nasty because it's fractions, but we're going to use a calculator, so we don't really care about fractions. So I want to get x by itself. So am I going to move 4/5 or am I going to move 1/2? And hopefully you realize 4/5 and x are attached, so I'm going to move the 1/2 by subtracting it. Subtract 1/2. So these go away. So I have 4/5 x. I'm going to bring down my inequality. And let me show you how to do this on the calculator. Whenever I do fractions, I just put them in parentheses. So I'm going to do parentheses, 3/5. The way you type a fraction in, type in 3, whoops. Divided by gives you your fraction, and a 5, so 3/5. And then I'm subtracting another fraction, which means I'm going to do a parentheses, and it's 1 divided by 2, 1/2. And you get 0.1. Now, from here, I'm fine with you leaving it as 0.1, but I just like to keep fractions as fractions. So I'm going to turn it to a fraction by hitting math, enter, enter. So that is 1/10. All right, now, 4/5 and x are multiplying, and the opposite of multiplying is division. So I'm going to divide by 4/5 on both sides. So these go away. I divided by a positive, so I'm not going to flip that inequality. So let's practice typing this in. Again, fractions go in parentheses, so I'm going to do 1/10 divided by 4/5. Now this, I'm actually going to leave as a decimal, just because decimals are easier to graph on a number line. So I'm going to leave it as 0.125. If you changed it to a fraction, that's fine. I'm not going to count it wrong. And your test is going to be multiple choice, so you'll be fine. All right, example 6. Write this one down. There's an x on both sides. Well, we did notes on this. Remember, if you always move your x to the left, you'll be fine. Okay, so I'm going to put a 1 with this x. And I'm going to move my 3x to the left. And the opposite of a positive is a negative 3x. So 3x's go away. I'm going to bring down my 8. I'm going to bring down my inequality. 1 minus 3 is negative 2x. Now, these are multiplying. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. So I'm going to divide by negative 2. Those negative 2's go away. Now, I divided by a negative, so I should flip my inequality. And 8 divided by negative 2 is negative 4. So there's example 6. All right, example 7. Same thing, I got variables on both sides. So I want to move my letter to the left. So I'm going to take this negative 2t. The opposite of a negative is a positive 2t. Positive 2t. 5 plus 2 is 7t. I'm going to bring down plus 1. Over here, my 2t's canceled. So I'm going to bring down negative 6. Okay, now I want to move my number to the right. So the opposite of plus 1 is minus 1. So I have 7t. Whoops, that should not have been an equals, it should have been less than. And I got a less than negative 7. Now, 7 and t are multiplying, and the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So I'm going to divide by 7. Okay, here's a common mistake people make. They say, oh, look, there's a negative 7, so I'm going to flip my inequality. But you want to look at what you're dividing by. And I'm dividing by 7. So that inequality stays the same. And negative 7 divided by 7 is negative 1. Okay, example 8. We start by distributing. We're going to distribute this 6. So 6 times 1 is 6. There's a 1 right here in front of this x. So 6 times negative 1 is negative 6, and bring your x down with it. Bring down your less than and your 3x. Now, you have some options here. And I'm just going to stick with what we always do, even though it's going to be a few more steps, because I think if you do the same thing every time, you're going to be more likely to remember it. So I got a letter on both sides, right? So I'm going to bring my 3 to the left. So I'm going to subtract 3x. Subtract 3x. So 3x goes away. I'm going to bring my 6 down. Negative 6 minus 3 is negative 9x. Now, if your x's go away and there's nothing on the right side, we're just going to put a 0. Okay? Now I want to move my number to the right, so the opposite of a positive 6 is a negative 6. So I have negative 9x is less than, and 0 minus 6 is negative 6. Divide by negative 9. Divide by negative 9. Now I divided by a negative, so my inequality flips. And negative 6 divided by negative 9, you could leave it as 0.6 repeating. Or you could turn it into a fraction of 2/3. And I'm fine with either answer. All right, example 9, we got some decimals, but that's fine, again, because we get a calculator. So first thing I see right here on the left is I can combine those x's. So I'm going to do 0.5 plus 1.9. And that gives me 2.4x. I'm going to bring down minus 0.3. I'm going to bring down my inequality. I'm going to bring down 0.3x. And plus 6. Okay, now I got variables on both sides, so remember you want to move your x to the left. The opposite of a positive is a minus, so I'm going to minus 0.3x and a minus 0.3x. So 0.3's go away, bring my 6 down. 2.4 minus 0.3, 2.4 minus 0.3. is 2.1. Okay, now I want to move my 0.3 to the right. So the opposite of minus is plus 0.3. So I got 2.1x is less than 6.3. 2.1 is multiplying, so I'm going to divide by 2.1. And you get x is less than 3. I didn't flip it because I divided by a positive, so it stays less than. Alright, special cases. Just like in equations, you remember if your letters canceled out, we could either get no solution or all solutions. Well, the same thing is true with inequalities. So write this example down and I'm going to show you one of these special cases and what it's going to look like. So right here on the left, nothing can be done. I'm just going to rewrite 3x plus 4 and bring down my inequality. Here, I can multiply, right? 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 1 is 2. And then I still got to bring down my plus x at the end. Then I want to say, hey, can anything be combined? Well, on the left side, no. So I'm just going to write 3x plus 4. On the right side, 2x plus 1x is 3x. And bring down plus 2. Okay, I got variables on both sides. So I'm going to move my 3x to the left. So I'm going to do minus 3x because the opposite of a positive is a negative. 3x minus 3x is nothing. 3x minus 3x is nothing. So what I really have is 4 is less than 2. And just like with equations, you want to say, is that true? Is 4 less than 2? And the answer is no. So if it's not true, then we're going to put no solution. Okay? So if your letters cancel and it's not true, it's no solution. Let's do another one. Okay, write this one down. I'm going to bring down 5x. I'm going to multiply by negative 4. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x. Negative 4 times a negative 2, I'm doing this right here. Well, a negative times a negative is a positive, and 4 times 2 is 8. Bring down everything else. Next step, I want to say, hey, can I combine anything? Well, yeah, right here. I can do 5x minus 4x is 1x. And then we'll bring down plus 8. And bring down that greater than, and bring down x minus 20. Now, I got a letter on both sides. So to move it, we're going to do the opposite. And the opposite of positive x is negative x. So x's go away. 1x minus 1x, again, go away. So I have 8 is greater than negative 20. So let's think about that. Is 8 bigger than negative 20? Yes, it is. So my answer is all solutions. All right, let's do another one. I'm going to start by distributing. 4 times y is 4y. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. I'm going to bring down everything else. Now, can I combine anything on the left-hand side? No, because it's a y and a 4. Right-hand side, same thing. So I'm going to move my letter left. So I'm going to do minus 4y and do minus 4y. 4 minus 4 is nothing. 4 minus 4 is nothing. So I have negative 4 is greater than 2. Is that true? Is negative 4 bigger than 2? No. If it's not true, your answer is no solution. So if you will go try the worksheet, I think I printed it off. I have it for you, and turn it in to me when you are done. Thanks.